So do you know what watch we're in? Do you even know what a watch is? Let's see if this is right here. So, let's look at the definition of a watch. In Eliot's commentary for English readers, the Jews, since their conquest by Pompeius, had adopted the Roman division of the night into 4 watches. That would mean daytime would also be 4 watches, so that there are 8 watches in a day. All right? That was easy enough. 8 watches in a day. All right, let's go back and look at Luke 21 again. Not Luke 21. Is it Matthew? Yeah, right here. Matthew 24. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour. Doesn't say watch. Remember, there are 8 watches in a day, which means there are 3 hours in a watch. Okay? I wonder if your preacher explained that one to you. Bet he didn't. So there are 3 hours in a watch. You do not know what hour your master comes, but know this. Oh, but you do know this, that if the master of the house had known what watch the thief would come, he would have watched. And would have not suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore, be you ready, so that you know what watch the thief is coming. For the last 6 years. I told you that the time of the Gentiles had expired. I showed you the math. It was easy to do. I showed you the math in Daniel 9. Let's go to Daniel 9, as I have done countless times. I showed you the math. It's not hard to do. "70 weeks, at 70 sevens, are determined upon your people and upon your holy city to finish the transgression." The transgression of what? The transgression upon the Jews, the transgression upon Jerusalem, or the transgression that the Jews in Jerusalem committed. To make an end of the sins of Israel and the sins of Jerusalem. But you notice that is not in any narrative of the Christians whatsoever. None. And to make reconciliation for iniquity. How is replacement theology reconciliation for iniquity? It is not. Replacing Israel with the church is not reconciliation for iniquity. It isn't. And to bring in everlasting righteousness. To where? To the holy city, to Jerusalem. And to seal up the vision and the prophecy, and to anoint the Kodesh Kodesh, which means the Temple Mount, the holy place. Know, therefore, understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem, we could have stopped right there unto Messiah the Prince, and we could have, it shall be 7 weeks. It doesn't say and 60. It says 62 weeks. The street shall be built, and the wall in troublous times. And after the 62 portion of the 70 weeks, Messiah will be cut off. Where does that leave the 7? I showed you multiple times. You can go to Jewish Virtual Library. It's so easy to do, and you can find where General Shlomo Goren on June 7, 1967 made that call to rebuild Jerusalem. I have said it in Hebrew. I have said it verbatim in Hebrew, repeated what Shlomo Goren said, and then I have told you what it meant in English. It means today in Jerusalem, like the Jerusalem of old, rebuild. This is exactly what he said. So you have to count 7 sevens unto Messiah the Prince. And that time came and went. What do you mean? And then Henry, then you got your numbers wrong. Hold on. So I got my numbers wrong, huh? All right. The Roman prince, that would have been Vespasian, destroyed the city. The 1 week was allotted for that. That came and went. I don't care what your preacher says. There's no another 3.5 years for destruction of Jerusalem. It just doesn't exist. And the 62 weeks was from when Nehemiah reported to the king of Persia that the street and the wall was finished unto when Messiah was cut off. What I'm saying is the 70 weeks are finished. It was finished in 2016. Then you say that my numbers are wrong. You say that my calculation is wrong. Watch this. Bridegroom tarried. And he also said, you don't know the day nor the hour. But you should have known what watch. It would be somewhere in that watch that he would come. It would not be as soon as the clock ticked 7 sevens. You see, English Standard Version says the bridegroom was delayed. Berean Study Room says the bridegroom was delayed. That's why it says you do not know the hour, but if you would have been paying attention, you would have known what watch the thief was coming. When that time expired, we were in the watch. When seven sevens after June 7, 1967 on the Roman calendar had expired, that was your last watch. That's when your last watch begins. And there are 3 hours, so to speak, in the last watch. Now, I want to show you something. All right, this I would show you. No, it's not here. Where is it? Did I lose it? That's in Revelation. All right. Let me show you something. The three woes. My dad used to talk about the three woes. They come quickly, in quick succession. They're different from the other trumpet sounds. Right here it talks about the fifth trumpet sound. One woe is past, and this one only took 5 months. Right? 5 months. This one takes an hour, what is it, a day, a month, or an hour, a month, and a year. An hour, a day, a month, and a year for to slay the third part of men. All right? We're going to hold on to this for a minute. We're going to look at this. So here, now, it says Jonah saw a star fall from the sky. Does that mean we're going to see it? No, he saw a vision. And to him was given the key to the Abyssos. Mediterranean Sea is the Abyssos. Learn your Greek. And he opened up the Abyssos, and there arose a smoke out of the well, the water, like a smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. This is what Jonah's vision was. Now don't forget, the vision of Joseph, or I should say the vision of Pharaoh, had to be interpreted by Joseph because it made no sense to him. He said that the 7 fat cows was 7 years of plenty, and the 7 thin cows was 7 years of famine. Did that mean that the Egyptians were going to see a literal 7 cows? And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power to act as scorpions of the earth have power. Well, locusts don't look like scorpions, and locusts don't act like scorpions. Locusts can fly, all right? But scorpions cannot. Scorpions cannot fly, but locusts can. What do you know that looks like a scorpion that can fly? What is that today? That's a helicopter. But it doesn't eat any green thing. It's not like locust that eats all the trees and all the grass. That's not what it does. You see, he's describing a helicopter. Like scorpions have power. And it was commanded that they act wickedly, albeit not against the grass, feed grass, the wheat, the corn, the fields. Now, why is that important? Because when the Romans made war, one of the things that they did was they poured salt on all the fields so that the fields of their enemy could not produce anything. Destroyed the land's ability to produce. And they even went further with Carthage. They just went, and they, on top of that, they put boulders and rocks everywhere. Okay? So the fields weren't targets. The trees weren't targets. But only, it says, those men which do not have the seal of Elohim in their foreheads. In other words, they weren't targeting the Jews. I know you Christians, you know, I've tried to help you Christians see the error of your way, but you are too obtuse, you are too thick-headed, you won't listen. That thing you put on your forehead on Ash Wednesday, that's the mark of the beast. It is not the mark of Elohim. Okay, and to them it was given that they should not kill. Now, the idea was not to kill. What was the idea then? Well, what happens in war? What is the point of war? Taking land that doesn't belong to you. So the idea was not to go and kill everybody. That wasn't the point. Not like it was the point in the next woe. You see, the point in the first woe was just to take land. That's what you do in war, right? But not kill anybody, not kill everybody. That was the point. That was the idea. That was the initial command. Apparently it didn't work. You see? But that they should be tortured 5 months. And their torture was as the torture of a scorpion when he strikes a man. Now, do I know that what Russia is doing in Ukraine right now is it? No, but something was said today. Something was said today that tells me it might be, and that it probably is. Who said it? It was Foreign Minister Lavrov of Russia. That's not the one I'm looking for. Here we go. Daily Mail. Russia's foreign minister warns a third world war will be nuclear and destructive. He also accused Kiev of delaying peace talks at the behest of the U.S. and said that the invasion aims to prevent Ukraine from obtaining nuclear weapons on its own. Now, this particular article here says Russia, frustrated with the pace of Ukraine invasion, expected the country to capitulate just like that. They expected that when they would run their tanks up to Ukraine, that they would give up just like Austria did when Adolf Hitler rolled his tanks into town. That's what they expected. But instead, Russia walked into a trap, a snare. Why, how? Well, you see, go back to the first article, I believe. Accused Kiev of delaying peace talks at the behest of the U.S. and said the invasion aims... Okay, so what happened is that the U.S. and European nations were flooding arms into Ukraine to stop Russia from invading Ukraine. And when you have all these weapons and all these arms, you feel pretty good. You feel pretty confident. Things didn't go quite as planned. And you know as well as I do, folks, that Russia has all kinds of nerve weapons. Now, we'll go back to, where is it? Revelation. All right. Now I showed you Apache helicopters with radar domes on them, and Russia helicopters had the radar domes on them too. If it says as it were or like similar to crowns of gold, doesn't say they were crowns of gold. It says similar to crowns of gold, and their teeth and their faces were as the faces of men, and they had hair as the hair of women. Kind of like the old propeller swinging around up above. This is, he tried his best to explain. And the teeth was as teeth of lions. And, in the old days and even now, they put tiger's teeth on helicopters. And they had breastplates of iron. Well, that appeared to be iron. Well, the helicopters do have, their frame is, has a lot of structured metal in it. And the sounds of the wings are the sounds of chariots of many horses running to battle. That sounds like a helicopter, folks. And they had tails that look like scorpions' tails. That's helicopter. And there were a sharp point, not stings, a sharp point on the tail. Just like a scorpion, just like a helicopter. Has a sharp point on its tail. And power was given to hurt men, to act wickedly to men for 5 months. Now hold on. Act unjustly towards, to injure, to harm. Harm? Wait a minute, I thought they weren't, that would... Damage, do harm, to do wrong, to injure, treat unjustly, wronged. Criminal violations of laws in some way. And we see, folks, they're already planning on bringing Vladimir Putin before the UN War Crimes Court. Okay? Putin has already carried out war crimes. Boris Johnson. Could the International Criminal Court bring Putin to justice over Ukraine? Boris Johnson, Vladimir Putin guilty of war crimes. Researchers gather evidence of possible Russian war crimes in Ukraine. See, you got to have an open mind. Think. Think, people. Don't swallow the narrative. Think. Now, so, and their power was to, hold on, sound? Okay. So the idea was not to go in and kill a bunch of people. That was not the idea. The idea was to go in and take whatever country they're invading. And it didn't work. What happens next as a result? See, they weren't supposed to, but they were only to be tortured for 5 months, and their torture was as the torture of a scorpion when he strikes a man. Now, what is the torture of a scorpion when he strikes a man? It is much like nerve agents, spasms. Go grab a scorpion one time and have it sting you. You'll understand. All right? So, one woe is past, and behold, here come two woes hereafter. And the sixth messenger sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before Elohim. Are you going to hear it? No, you won't. Only Yonah did. Saying to the sixth messenger which had the trumpet, loose the four angels, loose the four messengers which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four messengers were loosed, which were prepared for an hour a day, a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. Remember, 3 woes. These woes are tied together. The 3 woes are tied together. Therefore, the first woe is tied with the second woe. And I suspect that the second woe is as a result of failure in the first woe. I suspect. Because here it says they didn't want to kill men, and here it led to the vaporization of a third of the population of men. Clearly world war, clearly nuclear missiles. And I have so many times the Yars Topol missile ICBM is exactly what Yonah describes in the second woe, in the 6th trumpet sound. How do I know? How do I know this? Let's get some pictures. Maybe I should have... Well, let's see what this picture looks like. Let's look at this. Let's get a look at an upright. Let's get that picture up. If we got it. All right. As you can see, this is what they look like. Look like a serpent's tail. Now, this is a Scud missile launcher, but they look the same. But see, you see what Yonah does, though? He gets really descriptive in this one. It's impossible to ignore which ones he's talking about. See, they look the same, kinda. Now, obviously this one does that too. And let's go back a little bit, and I want to get the images on this so I can get a better All right, I think I got this one and that one. So let's go back to Revelation. The 4 messengers were loosed and were prepared for an hour, a day, a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. We went from try not to kill anybody because we think they'll surrender to world war. Does that sound familiar to you? And the number of the army of the horsemen were myriads and myriads, not 200,000, 200,000. No, it's myriads, 2 myriads, myriads. And I heard a number of them. And when I saw the horses in the vision, this is a vision, on them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire. Breastplates of the colors of fire. And here are the colors. Are you ready? The colors are jacinth and brimstone. And what are the colors on a Yars tank on the breastplate but jacinth and brimstone? Right there. Let's just ignore that. Or pay attention. So you have the darker jacinth color and you have the lighter color of brimstone, sulfur. Right there. You can look it up. It's there. On their breastplate. And again, Russia's foreign minister warns a third world war will be nuclear and destructive. Yonah has even pinpointed the offending nuclear missile launchers. Does that mean that that's the only missile launchers he's going to use? Nope. He's giving you something. He's giving you some information. He's giving you some preparation ammunition, if you will. When you start seeing threats like this. Now, we've heard these threats before. But why was it that it didn't happen then? We were so close to nuclear war. In the 50s and in the 60s, what happened? In the 70s and in the 80s, what happened? The 7 sevens of Daniel 9 had not expired. Therefore, the time of the Gentiles the time of the Gentiles had not expired. But I proved to you in such simplistic ways that the time of the Gentiles has expired. They expired in 2016, and once they expired, messengers from the Middle East, the Euphrates River, Syria, where Russia is playing around in, comes out, and this is what happens. Now, has the 3 messengers come out of the great river Euphrates yet? I don't know. Me personally, I'm still looking at 5 months of this war that they initially tried not to take anyone's life, but to injure them. I still haven't seen any signs of nerve gas. However, Don't be the fool who says, well, wait a minute now. We haven't seen any signs of nerve gas, so therefore the next one can't come yet. Just because you haven't seen any signs of it, that does not mean it hasn't happened. You see, one thing you will know, just like since 2014, when Russia has been, how do I say this, projecting, warning Ukraine concerning the Minsk agreements, and the battle between the Russians and the Ukrainians, brother against brother, has been going on since 2014. And the Russians claim that, it doesn't matter what the Russians claim, it doesn't matter what the EU is claiming. What matters here is that we're on the cusp of a nuclear war that was predicted nearly 2,000 years ago. And in fact, not just nearly 2,000 years ago. As I showed you in Yol 2, we'll go there. Go to Yol 2. So a portent will be shown about the day of Jehovah's wrath. So what comes just before facing the day of Jehovah's wrath? A sign, a portent in the sky and in the earth. What is that sign? Blood and fire. So sign of blood and fire in the sky and in the earth. How? How is the blood in the sky and blood in the earth and fire? Palm-like columns, that's Timara, palm-like columns of smoke. Nuclear weapons. There's your second scripture talking about nuclear weapons. Now here comes the third one. Zechariah 14. This is the plague Jehovah, not the Lord, will smite the people, all the people who have ever fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand on their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and in their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. We know what that is. How's he going to bring this plague? Well, he says so if you just listen. That day, doesn't say and it shall come to pass. No, it says that day, when this happens, that day, a great tumult from Jehovah will be among them, and they will lay hold, be strong, grow firm. Man on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor with weapons that cause their flesh to consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes consume away in the holes, and the tongue consume away in their mouth. Checkmate. There's no way of getting around it, folks. The time of the Gentiles has expired. I proved it to you. Now, when the time of the Gentiles expires, this happens. Romans 11. The one scripture that is the kryptonite of every professed Christian. There's one scripture that is in their scripture that is the kryptonite of every professed Christian. And that is Romans 11, verse 25 through 27. For I would not, brethren, Romans, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits. I don't want you to be wise in your own conceits, he says. I don't want you to be ignorant of this mystery. But not only are they ignorant of this mystery, they are willfully ignorant of this mystery. Because this mystery is the kryptonite of every professed Christian. Partial blindness happened to Israel until the filling up of the Gentiles. Now, what does that mean? You'll find it in Luke. And they, the Jews, this is Luke 21, they fell by the edge of the sword. By whom? By Vespasian, by Titus. And they shall be led away into captive into all the Gentiles. And they were. By Vespasian and by his son Titus. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. And it was. By Titus and his daddy Vespasian, until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Expired. I've proven to you that the time of the Gentiles has expired, and that now I believe the three woes come next. And the first one will be so short that you might not even see it come or go. If you would have known what watch the master of the house, or if the master of the house would have known what watch the thief would have come, he would have been ready for him. I told you to watch. You should have known to watch. I know the watch. I found out about it a few years ago. And if I found out about it, there's no excuse for anybody else. Because the vast majority of the Japhetic world believe that they are wiser than the likes of me. So there's no excuses. If you have not already prepared yourself, by now, it's probably too late.